Hi there, this is Datila, and welcome to your Just in Time Post Show. It is Wednesday, September 11, 2024, and tonight I'll be talking about AEW Dynamite. So tonight's Dynamite was a fallout from All Out. We have quite a few things to talk about. Let's talk about this casino tag team gauntlet match, first of all. So the match started off with FTR, Will Ospreay, and Kyle Fletcher. And I thought that was an interesting choice. I guess because Mark Davis still is out with an injury. I think it would have been Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis in this match. There were some interesting teams in here. The Righteous was on here. And MXM Collection was in here. The Outrunners, I was not expecting the Outrunners to get the massive pop that they did. But the Bucks were watching this match, and the winners ended up being Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. So now we know the Bucks will face Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher for those tag team titles. I was not expecting them to win. I kind of thought that this match was going to go on a little longer than it did. I thought maybe we would get a couple of surprises. I was kind of hoping maybe the Motor City Machine Guns would make a surprise appearance here, but they didn't. So I guess they had to go with another team in here, and they went with Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. So I guess that means Will Ospreay is on a roll when it comes to gauntlet matches. I think this is the second or the third gauntlet match that he's won so far. But overall, I thought this was a fun little match. The Grizzled Young Vets were in this, but they didn't get a chance to compete because FTR attacked them on the ramp and pretty much went to the back. So. But what did you guys think of Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher winning this? Should another team have won this? Who do you guys think should have won? Let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below. Personally, I don't mind them winning. My bad, my window's open. Personally, I don't mind them winning because I kind of thought, when the Acclaim came out, I was like, and especially because they had that confrontation with the Bucks on the ramp, I was like, oh my God, is the Acclaim going to win all this? They did all this so the Acclaim can win. So, but I was surprised that it was Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. But at the same time, I'm glad that the Acclaim didn't win because it would have felt like he did all this just to give it to the Acclaim again. Okay, but overall, interesting winners. Oh, who would you guys would have wanted to win this? Let me know in the live chat in the comment section down below. So tonight's Dynamite actually kicked off with a Jon Moxley promo. He was basically talking about how he's not a villain, he's not a hero, and he chose war today. And he talks about how the egos are getting out of control and he just can't take it anymore. Now he mentions William Regal, but he doesn't mention it by name. He just mentions their mentor, which we all know was William Regal until he went back to NXT. He talks about how the mentor called Brian the Perfect Wrestler and was the favorite. That is true. If you guys remember, William Regal would say Brian was the perfect wrestler. So, Jon Moxley has been looking for Darby Allin this entire time. And that happens later on in the night, but I'll talk about that when I get there. So next we get the Patriarchy in-ring segment. And basically, Christian Cage, he is just that damn vicious. He was talking about how he was going to beat Bryan Danielson so bad that he was going to wish his wife Brie was the one with CTE. And I was like, dang. I was like, he went there all right. But basically, he says he's going to be the next reigning undisputed AEW World Champion. So it takes a while before we get to our first opening match. We get a Don Callis family interview, and this is how we get the Will Ospreay Kyle Fletcher tag team later on in the night. Because during this segment, Don Callis basically tells Will Ospreay that he's won every casino gauntlet that he's been a part of. So he wants him to team with Fletcher, and Fletcher kind of convinces him to be his tag team partner in his, and that's how they enter the tag team gauntlet. The opening match ends up being the TNT title match. Is Jack Perry versus Lio Rush. I think this was an okay match. Obviously, Jack Perry was going to win this. There was no way he was going to lose. So he wins, and then backstage, Alex Marvez kind of was just like, what he thought about All Out and stuff like that, and he just keeps it short and walks away and drives away. So, we'll see who's Perry's next opponent here is, but it was a decent match. It took him a while to get to the opening contest. It's not like AEW to have like two back-to-back segments and then the opening match. They usually maybe have like one segment in the opening match. So it's a little different here. We get a Hangman Adam Page interview, and I've been saying for a while now that Unhinged Hangman has been like my favorite version of Hangman. And he's completely lost it here. He was talking about about burning down Swerve Strickland's house, talking about how if Swerve Strickland had 1,000 houses, he would have burned all 1,000 down. Talking about how he meant everything he said about Swerve Strickland, every drop of blood, every bruise, and everything. And one thing that I thought was interesting was he grabbed, I guess it was a bar, and he whacked some random dude with it. He had to stare down with Top Flight, but then he passes by Dark Order, and they're pretty much tell him they don't know him anymore. It's kind of sad that they really didn't do much with that Dark Order Hangman storyline. They could have done so much more, and they kind of just didn't do much. That whole storyline was more about Hangman than it was about the Dark Order. So I really wish they could have done something with that. Jeff Jarrett confronts Hangman and basically tells him he's going to regret putting his hands on his wife Karen, and Hangman attacks Jeff Jarrett. So Jeff Jarrett and Hangman have been at each other's throats since the Owen Hart tournament, pretty much, because Hangman, beat Jeff Jarrett in that tournament to advance. So I wonder if this is next feud, Jeff Jarrett versus Hangman. That should be a little interesting. We're supposed to get a trios match. It's Private Party and Komander versus, I'm assuming, a couple of jobbers here. Poor Commanders, with the Lucha Bros gone, they really don't seem to know what to do with him. They just kind of threw him with Private Party. I wasn't a fan of this because I felt like this whole match was basically set up so that Jon Moxley and his group can just go out there and attack him. Pac says that he was been lost for a very long time, but now he has something to believe in, and the prophecy has sold and the company is there. So again, maybe we're gearing towards an AEW's version of an invasion storyline. Maybe Shane O'Mac is coming in. A lot of people are speculating Shane McMahon is coming in with this storyline. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that's the case? Is Shane O'Mac coming to AEW? We gotta wait and see. But yeah, you could have just had, honestly, you could have just had Moxley and his group just go out there and cut this promo. We get a learning tree segment, and I'm not a huge fan of the learning tree. Said it before. Just don't like the learning tree. But Chris Jericho, pretty much with this segment, he had his jacket, the $7,000 jacket that Orange Cassidy ruined 5 years ago, and they're gonna have a match later on in the night. The Learning Tree and Iron Savages. We get Ricochet versus Sammy Guevara. This was honestly probably the best match in the entire night. This was a really great match. I liked it a lot. I think my favorite spot was when Ricochet did that senton off the barricade and then the crossbody and then the running shooting star press. I thought those were really cool spots that they did. Ricochet was victorious, and then at the end, poor Ricochet gets speared by the Beast Mortos, and Sammy came in swinging with the chair to help him. So interesting. Is that going to be Ricochet's next opponent, the Beast Mortos? I think that's going to be a good match. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that match. We get an Okada interview, and I really like how he's fake crying, basically talking about how All Out was the hardest night of his life. And Don Callis interrupts, and we finally get that little interaction with Konosuke Takeshita and Okada. We kind of had it at All Out, but here they have a little stir off, And I cannot wait for that match to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it happens, it's going to be a money match. I so want to see that match. But I like how Okada tells Don Callis that Takeshi will be champion, just not a continental champion. And he walks away and he comes back and says, bitch, which I thought was so hilarious. I'm really liking heel Okada. I think it's doing wonders as a heel. So, okay. So I'm going to combine the next the Darby Allin segment and the Nigel McGuinness segment because I feel like that all corresponds. So I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Just bear with me. So you get a confrontation, finally get a confrontation between Darby Allin and Jon Moxley. You guys know that Jon Moxley has been looking for Darby Allin. So basically, Moxley tells Darby Allin that Bryan Danielson is indisposed and he should put his title shot on the line. So at Grand Slam, it's going to be Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. The winner will get the opportunity to face Bryan Danielson. I'm assuming at Wrestle Dream here. So I did like this segment, especially with like Moxley saying that Allen's not ready to be world champion, and Darby Allin bringing up if Jon Moxley's drinking again. As we all know, Jon Moxley did struggle with alcoholism a couple years ago. So later on in the night, which I'll talk about, like we see Nigel McGuinness telling Christopher Daniels he wants to talk to Tony Khan. Jump forward a couple segments, and Nigel McGuinness reveals that at Grand Slam, it's going to be Bryan Danielson versus him for the AEW World title. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure everybody wants to see this match. Apparently, it would be 15 years to the date that they had their last match, which just also happened to be in New York. So I get that they want to do that. But this doesn't make sense because Darby Allin won the Royal Rampage, won the opportunity to challenge for the title at Grand Slam. And they had Jon Moxley telling Darby Allin that Bryan couldn't compete, but yet later on in the night they made a match with Nigel McGuinness. How does that make sense? Unless Jon Moxley's like totally lying to Darby Allin here. But still, like, he agreed to a stipulation, so now there's nothing he can do. I guess he's not getting his title shot now, but I was just like, wait, like Darby Allin did all that and he's not even getting his title shot. So I get why they did it, but I just feel like maybe Nigel McGuinness could have maybe been out there with them, or they could have written something better because like with Jon Moxley saying that Bryan Danielson was indisposed and then you go and you make that match, it's kind of like, okay, like, or at least, again, sorry, I apologize. My window's open. Sorry about that. My window was open. So, or at least what they could have done was they could have held off on the Nigel McGuinness segment and then just say, "Oh, Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to compete," and then had Nigel McGuinness challenge him. I feel like they could have just like held off on that because then you had, like I said, you have here Moxley telling Allin that Bryan's not going to wrestle, and then like an hour later, he's going to be challenging Nigel McGuinness. So personally, that's just my personal preference though here. I think it's going to be a great match, Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson. It's just the way they went about it. To me, it just didn't make sense. But again, that's just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with me. It is what it is. But I'm definitely going to look forward to that match. Okay. So we get the 8-day Women's World Title Eliminator match. It's Mariah May versus Queen Aminata. You guys remember Queen Aminata defended Sky Blue at All Out when Mariah May attacked her. So I definitely do think Queen Aminata has potential to be women's champion. But I don't really like these eliminator matches because I feel like 9 times out of 10, well, actually, most of the time, the champion wins these eliminator matches. And that was no different here. Like, Mariah May was victorious here. Then she still continues to mock Toni Storm. She beat Mita with the Storm Zero, and then she did Toni Storm's post-match celebration, when she goes on the floor and stuff like that. I like how she brought up the fact that she still hasn't had her championship celebration, because she had 2 opportunities to do so in Chicago and Milwaukee, but she chose not to do the championship celebration on there. And she calls for Mina Shakar. I can never say her last name. Mina Shikawa, because she says that something and someone is missing, and she wants Mina to come back. So, if they continue with that All About Eve storyline, have you guys seen the movie? At the end of All About Eve, Eve has her own Eve. She gets another aspiring actress. Basically, is seen to be trying Eve's costume and pretty much conspiring to take her place, kind of like how Eve did to Margot Channing. So maybe Mina might be that if they still continue doing that storyline. If not, then it'll probably be something completely different. We get an EVP segment, and basically, I really kind of digging the heel Bucks here. I think this has been their best heel work. They said that the tag teams haven't been good enough to replace them, and this is the reason why they booked this Gauntlet, because they're doing the heavy lifting and they are the tag team division. So I like this. It's great heel work. With the Learning Tree versus Iron Savages, I'm not really going to talk about this match because I was not a huge fan of this match. I thought it was kind of pointless, and I'm not a big fan of the Learning Tree. Hey, I mean, if you like this match, you like this match, but I just did not like this match at all. We get a Chris Jericho promo, and during this promo, again, he's bringing up the fact that Orange Cassidy messed up his $7,000 jacket, and he poured orange juice on it and stuff, and he found he took Orange Cassidy's backpack, and it had a picture of him and best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. And Cassidy appears on the Titantron, and he got Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly to pour change, exact change, inside of Chris Jericho's Bentley, which I thought was the most hilarious thing. I don't know how he's gonna get that change out of there, but hey, if you collect all that change and it's $7,000 equally, you could go trade it in for some cash. So I thought that was a funny segment. And last but certainly not least, we get a Hook promo, basically challenging Roderick Strong to a match anytime, any place. Might happen at All Out. I think it should have. I think it will happen at all. I mean, not All Out. Grand Slam. I think it'll probably happen at Grand Slam. I think, or maybe Wrestle Dream, but I think more than likely that match is gonna happen at Grand Slam. So I'm gonna stop there because I already talked about the main event, the Casino Tag Team match, which Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher won. So overall, on a scale from a 1 to a Shawn Spears perfect 10, I feel like this was a 6. I did like the Jon Moxley promos. I like the Darby Allin, Jon Moxley stuff. However, it just didn't make sense to me that you had Moxley tell Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson indisposed, and then then later on in the night you made Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness. You should have waited a week for that, at least in my opinion. I really did like the match with Sammy Guevara and Ricochet. I like the Okada interview, and I like the little tease with Takeshita and Okada. That was really good. And I did like the tag team gauntlet match, so I give this a 6. Not so good, not so bad either. That was kind of in the middle here. But let me know what you guys thought about Dynamite in the comments in the live section down below. But with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or you see a new video. And as far as Friday Night SmackDown is concerned, unfortunately, I won't be reviewing Friday Night SmackDown as I will be covering TNA's Victory Road over on Body Slam. So if I don't see you guys tomorrow on Body Slam or on Friday on Body Slam, I'll definitely see you guys back here Monday after Raw. Bye.